you can have a bona fide 1, 2, 3, and 4 player option on your team. That's what I think we can do, right? We need to be playing a 2-year window here, 3-year window.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Don't lose your life.
All right, everybody. It's the best time of the year minus playoffs for basketball. And that is trade talks. And it's kicked off the last couple of days. Nothing's really happened yet, but it's that time of the year. Everyone likes to put different players in different jerseys, talk about ridiculous trade ideas, etc. So I thought I'd go ahead and do my own. First off, I'm not an expert at this stuff. I've been trying to learn a lot. So, I mean, obviously I've been learning a little bit, but this stuff can get a little complex and intricate when you really start diving into the weeds. So if you're an expert, don't yell at me. And also, if you are an expert and you want to come on and talk about it, that'd be pretty cool as well. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So really quickly off the bat, the NBA has a soft salary cap. They have a salary cap and then they have a luxury tax threshold, right? And this was largely brought up during the Lakers and Celtics in the 80s. They put in a lot of rules like the Larry Bird rights, stuff like that. That essentially would allow smaller market teams to play with the salary cap a little bit and go over if needed to retain top level talent, bring more parity to the league, etc. Right? So that being said, the cap for next year, right? This year it's like a little under 124 million for the cap, and then something like 152 million or something like that for the luxury tax. The Mavericks are over it. Cuban is probably going to shill out about 33 million for going over the luxury tax this year. Next year, the cap will be 134 million, and the luxury tax threshold will be 162. And the way the luxury tax penalty works is much like tax brackets. So for every $0 to $5 million you go over the luxury tax, you pay $1.50 on the dollar. For every 5 to 10, you pay $1.75 over. For every 10 to 15, it's $2 for every dollar, etc., right? So with that being said, if the Mavericks let all of their free agents walk, Powell, Wood, and there are a few others. Kimba's technically a free agent. Frank, etc. Right? If we let all of them walk, the Mavs will be under the luxury tax, but still over the salary cap. So that being said, the Mavs are in a bit of like a no man's land right now with their salary cap situation and their contracts, right? And that's kind of a tough place to be in. And the reason why I bring that up is my opinion, right? If I was in the front office, I would be going after expiring contracts. That would be our number one goal. That would be what I would be looking to do, right? Because is this team right now a contender? Probably not, right? I always have faith, but probably not. And are we going to be able to move our assets or combination of picks for some kind of bona fide all-star or a legit second option, or maybe even like just another Dinwiddie? Dinwiddie's been great. If we could get another, good second option like Dinwiddie, that'd probably be good too. But can we get another bona fide second player next to Luka with our assets and picks? Probably not. That's just my opinion. I say that also mainly because I see a lot of Mavs fans, I lurk on Twitter and whatnot. I see a lot of Mavs fans saying that we should trade XYZ for these guys, et cetera, and none of them are really needle movers, right? With Luka, I think we have championship aspirations every year. That doesn't mean we sell out every year because you can't do that, but we should have championship aspirations in the moves we make every year. And also, one thing to say about our picks is we have no picks coming up for the first and second round this year. Coming up in 2023, we have a first and 24, a first and second and 25, and then a first and 26, a first and second and 27. I believe that's how it looks. My quick opinion on picks in the NBA is they are not as valuable as other sports. And they are not, after you get out of about the top 15-ish area, NBA picks are just not that valuable to me, right? I am more than willing to move picks for a big package deal or to free up space or to get another star player or something like that. Again, our picks are not lottery picks. They're not going to be high-end picks. So in my opinion, we should be more than willing to deal them. That's just my opinion. So that's that for the picks. The Mavs right now should be focused on getting big or moving some of our bad contracts or getting big expiring contracts. We have a few contracts that are bad. Bertans mainly. Hardaway, his trade value's gone up a little bit. I don't think his what he brings to the table is worth it for the $17-18 million a year that he's making. And we'll look at here a little bit at our contract situation and things we might be able to do. But I think we need to be looking at making moves through free agency this year coming up. That's just my opinion. I don't think we're going to get another bona fide star in a trade per se. I thought maybe I did a video on this. I thought maybe for a small window, there was a small window there where maybe we could have made a move for Irving. It looks like the Lakers are going to hold on to Westbrook now in terms of being a big contract we could have gone after. So I think those two guys are kind of off the table now in terms of people we maybe could have gotten. Not that Westbrook is a bona fide second star, but his contract expiring this year is enticing. So that's just my opinion, right? I think if we're going to make some moves, I think it should be by repositioning ourselves for free agency. And there's some decent free agents this year I think we can go after or make some moves on. Now, that being said about our position next year, mainly we have Wood and Powell here. These are our free agents over here. Wood and Powell are the two big ones. I'm not sure what they're going to bring on the open market. I would think someone probably gives Wood 18 to 20 million. I would think someone probably gives Powell 15 million. I would think on the open market someone would make a move for those guys if they like them. How much Cuban's willing to open the pocketbook for these guys to keep them and maybe go over the luxury tax again for these guys, I don't know. Front office hasn't seemed very keen on Wood, even though I like him. I'd re-sign him in a heartbeat. Powell, I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know. Out of the bottom four guys there, I like Frank the most, obviously. The other ones probably walk. One thing I don't know is what guys like that, what they're going to get on the open market, right? If they're riding the bench for us, what would the other team look at them and be like, yeah, we could use Frank or we could use Theo, something like that. But also that being said, I would much rather Hardy get the bottom four guys minutes if they're going to get any. That's just my 2 cents on that. So while it'd be nice to re-sign Frank for some point guard depth, which we sorely need, those minutes should be going to Hardy. Hardy's finally coming around. They're finally putting him on the bench, etc. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Something interesting about Bertans' contract. So if he plays 75% or less of the games next year, so 61 games or less, 75% of 61 and a half games, 61 games or less next year, we can waive him, I believe, for $5 million for his final year in his contract. He has an early termination option in his contract for 24-25 that he essentially will be fully guaranteed if he plays over 75% of the games. In the early terminations, it's his option. And so, again, as far as I know, if you waive a player, right, you have to pay them their guaranteed money, but that money comes off the books. So that's something to keep in mind. So if Bertans plays 61 or less games next year, I believe we can waive him in 24-25 and only pay him $5 million. I think that's definitely something the Mavericks are going to be looking at. And if not, then, I have less faith in them than I did before. But that's my opinion. Bertans is easily our worst contract. Exactly if a team's even willing to take him in a package deal simply for his shooting, I'm not sure. Maybe. He'd have to obviously be part of something, I think. The fact that he does have that clause in his contract, I think, makes him a little easier to move. If a team knows that they can get him next year, play him 61 or less games, and then waive him for $5 million, maybe that'd be something a team's willing to do. Hardaway, while he's playing much better lately, to me that just means his trade value has gone up, and I would look to move him as well. Bullock also has a clause in his contract that before late June this year, coming up in 23, I believe we can waive him for $5.5 million instead of the full $10.5 million. Again, something to keep in mind. I don't know, letting just Reggie walk like that for nothing without trading him probably isn't preferable, but that's in our back pocket if we need it. Everyone's on the chopping block, right? So let's just make that clear. Maxey going down hurts. I think that really hurts our rotation. It is what it is. Hopefully he comes back and he's okay. I'm worried at this stage in his career, a pulled hammy or a torn hammy in the knee, that doesn't sound good. So we'll see what happens with that. I just don't know. Obviously, I think some teams would be very interested in Spencer. I don't know what kind of value could you get in return for Spencer in terms of another All-Star, which at a minimum we would have to get, or another big expiring, a huge expiring contract for Dinwiddie and another player that's good that we can play, right? So I don't think Spencer's going anywhere, only because I don't think the value we'd get back in return for something like that would be worth it. He's playing really good right now. He's definitely played better than I thought he would coming over from Washington off an injury. So I think Spencer probably isn't going anywhere. JaVale is going to be hard to move. I'm not sure what anyone would be willing to give up for him. Green and Hardy, obviously I think we keep. Green's playing above his contract, I would say. He needs more minutes, so does Hardy. So that's mainly just something to keep in mind. I think these three right here are the guys you have to look at moving. I was all on the Bullock train. His shooting has just not come around at all. It's really frustrating, but it is what it is. Finney, I think, is such a good glue guy. It'd be hard to move him. But these top three guys are definitely the guys I think we would prefer to move or trade, and I think we could get something decent for. So in my opinion, right, there's been some guys that have been in talks or that have been mentioned. So I'll go over some of those guys. John Collins, I don't like. He's got 3 or 4 years left on his contract after this for like 18, 19 million a year. I think he's not earning that contract, in my opinion. Again, he doesn't move the needle for me to think that he could be such a good piece for that amount of money, that he's going to be a difference, right? And I've seen some people saying we should trade for him. I don't see it. I think we're just getting ourselves locked into another big contract for someone who's not even producing that well, in my opinion, right? Miles Turner is another one. Again, depending on what we could give up for Miles Turner, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. This all depends also on what Cuban may be willing to do to open up the pocketbook and go over the luxury tax. If he thought he was wanting to keep Miles Turner after this year and re-sign him and go over the luxury tax, that's kind of up to Cuban. I don't know. I can't get in Cuban's head on that kind of stuff. But again, Turner making $18 million, I think, this year is decent to look at to get off the books, depending on what we gave up for him. I don't think we should be giving picks up for players who have an expiring contract this year unless it's like at least 20, 25 million. That's just my opinion, right? It's got to be worth it, right? I'm not sure. Let's say we gave up a first and a second for Miles and we didn't re-sign him and he walked. That's a lose-lose in my opinion, right? Miles isn't going to make us a championship team this year. And if he walks, you know, we just sold out even more of the future and didn't get really any value for it just for him to walk, right? So it's something to keep in mind. Again, I made a video over Westbrook and Irving. I think that window has closed. The Lakers seem like, for whatever reason, man, if I was the Lakers, I'd be trying to get rid of Westbrook. I don't get why they aren't trying to move him, especially when you got AD and LeBron playing a little better lately. There were some rumors at the beginning of the year that perhaps we were looking at getting Westbrook. I wish we would have done that. If those rumors were true, it would have been huge to get him off the books this year. Same thing with Irving. You know, even with all the shenanigans, Irving's contract would have been nice to have expire at the end of this year. And obviously Irving's talent speaks for itself, I think. He fits every need we have right now, being a second all-star, another, a good scorer that can get his own shot, and being a ball handler. But that window's probably close too. It looks like the Nets are going to, play it out with him and Durant, as I think they should. Zach LaVine's another guy I've seen. Again, I don't know what you're going to give up to the Bulls to get Zach LaVine. And he's locked in for that massive contract for the next 3 or 4 years, I think it is. I don't see how that works, I guess. I mean, if we could give up if you're going to give up 2 firsts or 3 firsts and Bertans, Hardaway, and Bullock for that, I mean, I guess, but I wouldn't do that if I was the Bulls. That's just my opinion. Again, when it comes to these top echelon guys who have long contracts still, I'm just not sure we have any assets that other teams are willing to take on, right? If a guy has an expiring contract like Westbrook, that makes more sense because then the Lakers may feel they're getting something for him instead of him just walking. But if a bigger star guy is locked in for the next 3, 4, 5 years, you have to give something equal in return. And non-lottery draft picks and a bunch of role players, I don't think are going to get it done for a guy like LaVine. And same with Westbrook goes for Irving, right? His contract is expiring. I don't think the Nets are going to re-sign him, but they're playing so well right now, I think they're going to ride it out. And with this whole controversy that was going on, there was maybe a window there that we could have got him for some value, or his value might have been a little lower. So that made sense, right? But for someone like LaVine, and he's had some injury issues, that's a risk for us. But for someone like LaVine who's on the books for the next 3, 4, 5 years, or a guy like that, you have to give up something equal in return. And I don't think the Mavs with their assets have those kind of players, and their picks are not lottery picks, right? So I just don't see how a guy like that, I see a lot of, that's what I mean when I sometimes see Mavs Twitter saying like we should trade for this guy or that guy. You're not going to fleece another team in the NBA, right? You're going to have to give up something to get something. And that's why I think we should be biting the bullet a little bit this year and trying to open up cap space. I think should be our angle. Big expiring contracts. Mo Bamba is another guy. And again, Mo Bamba, I feel like is just a sideways step. Now, if you can get rid of a bad contract or two for Mo Bamba, then perhaps that might be something we can do. Mo Bamba's making $10.3 this year and next. So it's a 2-year rental. And he's an unrestricted. He is a nice player. I'd be open to this depending on what we're giving up. But again, I don't think we should be giving up picks for a guy like this. And I'm not sure, and unless we can move like maybe a Hardaway or maybe a Bertans and another player for Bamba, and we can really move some cap space, maybe I would look at it, but I'm not too interested in Mo Bamba, to be honest with you. Now, let's get to the guys that I am a little interested in. And some of these may surprise you, they may not. Derrick Rose. He is making $14.5 this year. He has a club option for next year, meaning we can waive him, which is what we would do. And he's plays point guard, so that's okay. Better than Kemba probably, right? And so depending on what we could trade for him, if you could trade a Bertans, I'm not sure I give a part away for him, but definitely like a Bullock, I would be looking at something like that to get $14.5 million off the books, and we probably would waive him for next year in terms of the club option. And again, I don't think the club option is guaranteed money, even though it says that. That's just if they pick it up. We'd probably waive him. I'd be interested in looking to get Rose, and he can play some minutes for us at point guard. We desperately need point guards. He's a smart one. He's not the player he once was. Obviously, that's I'm not saying anything new there, but he would be a guy to get $14.5 million off our books at the end of the year. Depending if we could give up a bad contract for him, I would trade him and Bertans straight up. No questions asked, right? No questions asked to get that out of our hair. $14.5 million off the books. Just as an example, right? I would do that in a heartbeat. So Derrick Rose is a guy I would look at mainly for the contracts. And the Knicks are very guard heavy. I think I've seen some rumors they might be trying to move like Rose or Quickly. So Quickly is an actual guy's name, not move Rose quickly, but Rose and or Quickly. And so for $14.5 million for a guy who essentially is a Kemba Walker, even better, right? I would definitely go trade for Rose if we could get a bad contract off of our books, mainly Bertans. Something like that. If we could get Bertans in the mix somehow, that would be nice. I would go for Rose. Now for the other two guys, and I think this one may be my favorite because it's a bit of a package deal with the same team. Bogdanovic and Nerlens Noel. Now, Bogdanovic did sign the extension, so if we got him this year, he'd be on the books for another 2 years. But I think he is Dinwiddie equivalent, maybe even a little bit better overall game. Definitely a better mid-range game. Maybe can't quite go to the hole like Dinwiddie. Both are good shooters from three. I think he is a much better third option than Tim Hardaway. I would say that. He's got a bit of a post game, an okay defender. I think he's smart. He would fit in with this team. No questions, no problems asked. And you get him, Dinwiddie, and Luka next year as well. I like that. He's making $20 million next year, $19 million in 24-25. That's doable, depending on what we give up. If we can get Nerlens Noel thrown into the trade, Nerlens Noel, just like Rose, has a club option for 23-24. I think we probably would waive him, or we can trade him. Perhaps maybe do it. Maybe pick up the option and trade. Gives us a little bit of options, right? I don't think anyone's going to want to take Rose for 14.5, or he'd be making $15 million if we picked up his club option. I don't think anyone's going to want to take Rose for a sign and trade kind of like that if we take his option. I could see someone wanting Nerlens Noel if we pick up his club option and trade him for $9.6 million. That's not too much to be crazy to think about to trade for what he does. And if he just does terrible, or we don't want him, or whatever, that's $9.6 million off the books that we don't have to pay him for. And we can still keep Bogdanovic, who I really like Bogdanovic's game. So that's something to keep in mind. Detroit is not in win now mode. I'm hearing that they want to trade Bogdanovic. I've heard that. I don't know how true that is, of course. Nerlens Noel is another guy that they've reportedly might want to move around.
So this is what I would do. I would try to get these two guys. We get a little bit of flexibility. I think Bogdanovic moves the needle for me. I think in terms of Luka, Dinwiddie, and Bogdanovic as a trio, and then depending on who we have around them, I like that squad. I like that squad a lot. I think that's a good offensive squad that can give you a lot of looks, take a lot of pressure off Luka. Number one, right there. I think Bogdanovic helps take a lot of pressure off Luka, as does Dinwiddie when he's on. And for me, this moves the needle, right? I think you could easily give Detroit someone like a Bertans, someone like a Hardaway, someone like a Bullock, maybe even a Finney-Smith, or we trade Wood or Powell or something like that. I think there's enough assets to make this work here, and I'm not even sure we have to give up any picks for it. I'd still throw in a pick, though, depending on what they wanted. But if we could get out from under Bertans' contract and really anyone else. Bertans is the contract that's killing me. It literally keeps me up at night. If we could get rid of Bertans' contract and make this happen, and these guys are rumored to have to be moved by the Pistons, and we've been in that rumor with them, with both of these guys. The apparent, rumors, right? I don't know how true those are. I like this package very much so, and I think it works. I think we can give the Pistons some assets in return, some things they may need or want. And so I think this is what if I'm the front office right now in the Mavericks, I am banging the phones every single day trying to make this work. And even if we lose Dinwiddie at the end of next year, we still get Bogdanovic for the year after that, right? And technically Bogdanovic is making a little less than Dinwiddie, and I think he's overall a better player than Dinwiddie, to be honest with you. I would say at least Dinwiddie is not better than Bogdanovic. I guess I would say that. They bring a little bit of a different skill set, and they play different positions. Bogdanovic on the pick and roll with Luka sounds nice. Nerlens Noel's a nice player. I have no bad feelings about Nerlens Noel. And it just seems like Nerlens Noel is just not getting a lot of playing time lately. I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning for that is. Maybe he's just not fitting into their system. Man, Nerlens Noel's not playing at all. That's only better for us. That's more value for us, in my opinion. And again, Maxey just went down, and although Nerlens Noel and Maxey don't play or do the same thing really, still gives us, some depth in the front court, hold the Lions at bay while we try to get Maxey back from injury. If we have to give up a couple shooters in the trade, because that's what a lot of what our guys are spot up shooters, right? If we have to give up a couple shooters, we get Bogdanovic in return. He's a good shooter. What the hell's going on with Nerlens Noel? He's just not playing at all. Send him our way, bro. So he's just hasn't been getting a lot of... Noel hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. Send him over here, man, for even better value. That's even better. And I think with Maxey out, he can get some minutes. Him, Powell, and JaVale as a three-headed monster is fine with me. More than okay for me in the front court, right? We just need you to rim protect and rebound, bro. That's really all we need from you. I like this. This is my... I'd rather go after Derrick Rose. I think the Knicks are willing to move. Again, we're talking about guys, too, that teams seem like they want to move, right? That's also another thing that is, while I said you're not going to fleece other teams, there are certain guys on certain teams, depending on their status, right, where they're at and what they're trying to do, that they're willing to make a move for you, correct, or for that player. And so I'm all in on the Nerlens Noel Bogdanovic package, right? How does this even work? The ESPN trade machine? I've only used it like today. I've been messing around, but it seems like everything goes through. You're going to tell me, if the Pistons really want to take Bertans and Bullock for Bogdanovic and Noel, I mean, bring it on. But, yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. That one doesn't seem too accurate. But, again, I mean, this is just my opinion on what we should do, right? And the whole reason why this works is because we can waive Noel at the end of the year, and that essentially makes the books work at the end of the year, in my opinion. So, seems like we probably would have to give up more than Bertans and Bullock, but I'd give up Tim Hardaway in this trade. I'd give up Hardaway and Bertans. Their contracts are more. We still get to waive Noel at the end of the year. That's another $9 million off the books. We can probably keep Wood then, you know. I'd do it, right? That's the package I want. So that's just my video. If you guys have any other trade ideas for the Mavericks, let me know. I can always make a video on it. But just to recap, the Mavs should be going for expiring contracts. I don't think they're going to get a big star, right? So, like with Bogdanovic, right? He's not necessarily a big star, right? He's making $20 million a year. That's about where that second-tier player makes. That's what a Dinwiddie makes. You know, as a good example, right? That's where your second-tier player usually makes, unless you have two stars on a team, which I don't know where we're going to go get another star, right, to trade for with what we can offer. And if a team looks like they're willing to move a guy, then we might have to jump on that. Another reason why clearing up cap space is so big right now, minus that Bogdanovic trade. Let's say we could get a Westbrook, or we could get a Derrick Rose, and we can clear up some cap space, $25 million in cap space roughly. Because if, let's say we let everyone walk, let's say we were able to trade for Rose and then we let everyone walk, we're looking at about 20-25 we can play with, right? And with that amount of money, you know, could we go get a Kuzma? Could we go get a Gary Trent Jr. in the free agency? D'Angelo Russell? Maybe. It's possible. I don't think we're going to go after Porzingis, obviously. Kyrie's going to be too rich in free agency. We're not going to get him. Chris Middleton, he doesn't move the needle for me personally. I think he's done well next to Giannis, but that's Giannis. And I just don't know. He just feels like another Tim Hardaway in a way, if that makes sense. James Harden, he's probably going to be too much for us. Let's look at Kuzma real quick, because I know he wants out, or reportedly he wants out. So, dang, he's only making $13 million. Oh, he's got a player option for next year, so that might be good either way. If we could trade, actually, I like this. Let's just say. There's no way they take Bertans for Kuzma. Yeah, this is kind of silly. Kuzma's another guy I'd look at, though. He's making $13 million this year and next year. I'm going to go back to him. He's got a player option for next year, right? So Kuzma probably is not going to take that option. I think Kuzma's probably worth more than $13 million. Now, again, we could sign him, right? I'm pretty sure we could sign him to a bigger contract if we wanted. But if we could... I'm trying to think here about Kuzma. I like Kuzma. I think he'd be a good fit on our team. Would we trade like a Hardaway straight up for him? I probably would. Just because I think Hardaway's making a little too much. Kuzma's probably going to ask for the same amount, though, so I don't know. Depending on what we could trade for him, again, the whole player option's a little tricky because maybe we could re-sign him if he wants to or agreed to it, but in my mind, that gives me the impression that he's going to test free agency this year coming up. So that's a tough one. Even with that, to get someone like Bertans or Hardaway off the books with him, even a Bullock, I probably would do it just to open up the cap space. Not a big risk for a little bit of a reward there. So, yeah, that's my overall view, or what I would try to do. I like the Noel and Bogdanovic. I like going after Rose. I'm a little iffy on Kuzma, but only because I don't know what he's thinking. Right? If I could talk to him, like, hey, playing next to Luka for the next 3, 4, 5 years, if we re-sign you, what do you think about that? That might give me a better feeling. But we should be going after some big contracts, right? That are expiring, perhaps, and be trying to make some move in free agency, is my opinion. I just don't think the guys we can get for their contract situation, I think, just ties us up, like John Collins. It just ties us up even more, and I don't think he's like a piece that's going to put us over the top, if that makes sense. So that's why I want short contracts, preferably ending this year, and then I think we need to make a move or two in trades for maybe, I really want to go get Bogdanovic. If I can be honest with you, I really want to go get Bogdanovic. I think him, Dinwiddie, and Luka as a trio is really nice, in my opinion. I think that takes you from fringe contender to being right on that outer circle of the contenders. And depending on what we do next year, or if we re-sign Wood, or if we can make another trade or two after that, those guys as your trio, I think, opens up a lot of possibilities for you and what you could do. And being able to waive the Noel contract, depending on if you want to re-sign Wood, Powell probably walks, the other guys walk. Hardy's got to be the point guard next year, I think, or has to be minimum backup, immediate backup point guard. I think those three guys as your trio open up all kinds of possibilities for you. And with the cap going up the way it is for even the year after that, the cap in 24-25 goes up to $143 million. So if Luka is going to make $43 million, let's just call it $41.5 million over the next 2 years. Bogdanovic and Spencer essentially make $21 million each. You're looking at $85 million between those three guys, right? Let's just say we get Dinwiddie for another year. You're looking at $85 million for your three best players, and what I would consider to be three good players in terms of obviously your one guy is, second to none, essentially. Dinwiddie's, I think Dinwiddie can be your third guy or your second guy, depending on who your third is. I do think Bogdanovic, same with Dinwiddie, if those are your second and third guys, I think that opens up a lot of what you can do. That's about $85 million. And looking at the future, you've got $134 million next year, which we probably would need to move some things around, get rid of some contracts. The year after that, if you can get Bertans off your books, Bullock is gone. Depending on what you do with Wood, you can make another splash and go get another guy who for $20 million, if you ask me. And you can have a bona fide 1, 2, 3, and 4 player option on your team. That's what I think we can do, right? We need to be playing a 2-year window here, 3-year window. And Bogdanovic is huge if we could get him. I think he can easily be your third best player, easily. Maybe, is he a bona fide all-star second player? Probably not. But again, if he's got another guy, if you have like two guys who could easily be your third option as your second and third, I think that works out. That plays out. So in my opinion, I think if you could get Luka, Dinwiddie, Bogdanovic for $85 million a year, $90 million a year, and then you still have $50 million to play with, $40 to $50 million to play with Bertans coming off the books, with Hardaway coming off the books, with Bullock probably gone if we don't trade him for something or whatever. Dude, you're sitting pretty in my mind, right? As doom and gloom as things have looked the last week or two, and I really don't like our cap or salary situation. That just opens it all up, man. I think you could be making what you're really a move away, and not only that, but you're a easy move away. Not like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? But I think you're an easy move away. You're just looking for that fourth guy, right? You're just looking for that fourth guy. We just need you to kind of be around, like almost like a Wiggins type kind of thing that happened in their run last year, right? So that's my opinion on that. I think the Bogdanovic Noel trade, I think, is what we need to look at. I like going to get Rose to free up cap space too, and we can get rid of Noel. Possible waiving of Bertans in a year, possible trading or waiving of Bullock. Powell's probably going to walk. Looking at re-signing Wood, we'll see. I think him and the front office are not driving. That's where I come off with that. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Hardy, Hardy, he can be that fifth guy, fourth guy even, depending on how it plays out. Mavs are okay, right? This year, I think we're going to have to bite the bullet. I think, we're only going to go as far as Luka takes us. And, he's always capable of winning a game. But in a playoff scenario, best of 7, 4 times, you got to win. That's just really hard to do, right? So we'll see. But if we bite the bullet this year and make a couple of the moves I said, I think we're okay. I think we're okay contract-wise. And that's really our biggest negative right now is the contracts. It's the contracts and the salary cap situation. And, Cuban's probably willing to open up the books, go over the luxury tax a little bit. So we got some flexibility there, but we'll see. We'll see this next year or two what happens, but that's what I would do. That's my advice to the front office, and I know they watch my videos. So, yep, that's it. If you guys have any other comments or any other trade ideas, let me know, and we can think about it or talk about it. I'll make a video on it. So, that's my way to save the Mavericks from utter doom and put them onto the trajectory arc of winning a ring, and they can thank me later. So, talk to you guys next time.